Welcome to Beyond Measure. Pull up your Make the Cut software, click on the gallery, and plug in ribbon lacers. Download onto your working surface and then decide which design you would like to use for your project and delete the rest. I think I'm going to need two of these, so I'll go up to Edit, Duplicate, and make sure that I have two rows of the ribbon lacers. Now I need to have something that the ribbon lacers can be ribbon lacers in. So I grabbed rectangles in the basic shapes part of Make the Cut. And I made these 1.5 inches wide. Select all and click join. I also need some rectangles to create little paper eyelet trim. So I went into the basic shapes and grabbed another rectangle, and I will duplicate it by going up to Edit and clicking on Duplicate. And these are approximately 1 inch wide. Using these same techniques, I cut the mats, the base, the foundation, and everything for my card on the zing, including these scalloped circles for the flower. Mist with water and crumple into a ball, or at least somewhat of a ball. Uncrumple and mist again. Woohoo! Now we get to ink with Distress Ink by Tim Holtz in the color of Antique Linen. This is a super color to use when you're creating something that's shabby chic. And this is a scrap piece of tulle, and then I folded it in many layers and cutting some circles. They don't have to be perfect because this is shabby chic. And this makes a great feminine feel in a flower. You'll also need your We Are Memory Keepers Big Bite and a cream colored brad. Layer the smaller circles on the top and the larger circles on the bottom and fasten together with a brad. And now to use the Viva Decor pearl pin in the center. And this is the ribbon lacer that we created in Make the Cut software. I'm cutting the edges with the Martha Stewart eyelet punch. Not that I own a lot of punches, but I tell you what, this is my very favorite punch yet. And again, because this is a vintage shabby chic look, we need to ink it with the antique linen. This is the Tonic Distress tool that I'm using on Coordinations cardstock in whitewash. All four of the mats used in the winged card are measured at 3.5 by 5.5 inches. The foundation of our cards are 6 by 7 inches and 6 by 6 inches. On the 6 by 7 inch piece, you will score 1.5 inches from both sides. On the 6 by 6 inch piece, you will score 1 inch in from both sides. Be sure to use your bone folder to get a clean, crisp fold. Ink all edges with your Distress Ink by Tim Holtz in Antique Linen. When inking, use a lighter hand at first. You can always add more color. Now to adhere our trim to the edges. Make sure that your trim is inked with Antique Linen also. And up next is the oh so lovely Crazy Daisy embossing folder by Couture Creations. I'm embossing 4 3/4 by 6 inch strips and 4 1.25 inch by 6 inch strips. And then sand atop a scrap piece of chipboard. And here you go, ink it up, doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, with the Antique Linen Distress Ink. Now to adhere our embossed paper ribbon to one of our wings. This rectangle was cut at 4 by 7.5 inches. You'll need to score at 6 inches and again at 6.1/8 inches. To get a great score line, I really love to use my Crafter's Companion Ultimate tool and a bone folder. Be sure to get those nice, clean, crisp folds. And you guessed right, we need to ink it up again with our Distress Ink in Antique Linen by Tim Holt. And this is the oh so elegant Petite Fleur Couture Creations embossing folder. And this is another 3.5 by 5.5 matte, cut from some Coordinations cardstock. Now I am debossing this particular piece. Notice how it was placed inside of the embossing folder upside down. Now sand to reveal the elegance and wipe away the dust with a microfiber cloth. As you can tell, it is very beautiful just the way it is, but I wanted to accent it with a few little shabby chic colors. This is the Sakura Souffle pins. I'm accenting the flower portions with a pink, and I'm accenting the leaves and the greenery with the aqua green. This is a tiny piece of acetate that I cut and bent over to create a ribbon needle to aid in helping me thread it through the ribbon lacer. To thread it through, you just go in and out or up and down. Then adhere with your Xyron glue runner or an ATG gun. Then size it on your mat, trim, and adhere. I prefer to use a dry adhesive like the Xyron glue runner rather than a liquid adhesive for this particular embellishment. I love making bows with my Ultimate Crafter's tool by Crafter's Companion. This is the Hug Snug seam binding. I wrapped it around twice and then just tied it in the middle. See how super cute and lovely the little bow turned out? Now if you would like to dovetail the ends, fold the ribbon in half and trim at an angle. Oh my goodness, now we get to adhere this to our foundation. Which, by the way, don't forget to have inked this piece too. Roll over it with a brayer to ensure adhesion. I'm using some hot glue to adhere the cute little bow to our card. And next, we will adhere our little flower in the center of the bow with hot glue. Using the same pink Coordinations cardstock that measures 3.5 by 5.5, I'm using the Tim Holtz Sizzix Texture Fade in wood grain. I applied the walnut stain ink to the folder, but first I put some embossing buddy dust upon my pink mat. Then emboss, dust with clear embossing ink, heat, then whitewash with Distress Stain in picket fence. With a moist cloth, gently rub away some of the excess picket fence. Then ink with walnut stain. This is a little scrap of parchment paper that I crumpled and then inked for an aged look. Be sure to heat set and then use your homemade embossing buddy before heat embossing your sentiment. If you do not take those steps, you could end up with embossing powder all over your paper rather than just on your sentiment. Be sure to heat. And now for some die cutting with our Provocraft Cuddlebug. This is from Resplendent Rectangle. Due to the beautiful detail, you'll need to use wax paper next to the die and then your cardstock. Our cutting sandwich was AC, DC, BC, and the embossing sandwich is A plate, die, cardstock, matte, lots of cardstock, B plate, B plate, and motor it through. And this is the exciting reveal. I've not used this one before and I'm so excited to see how it turned out. Oh, it looks so pretty. And of course, we must ink it up. We're going to attach this to our pink tree. So we'll need to attach the sentiment to the resplendent rectangle with some brads or faux nails, as it were, and adhere. When you adhere your faux tree, it's going to seem as if you're adhering it upside down, but that will be right side up because it's on the inside lid, so to speak, of the card. This is a homemade flourish template by placing dots in the holes. It gives me a super guide to use the Viva Decor pearl pen. Next, for our sentiment inside of our card, we'll use the Spellbinder's classic oval and adhere with foam tape for a bit of dimension, and add some pearls with our Viva Decor pearl pen in iced white. This is the Maya Road butterfly stamp set. I'm going to stamp 2 butterflies with Tim Holtz Distress ink in clear. Sprinkle some Stampendous Shabby Chic embossing enamels and heat. Then cut with the Fanciful Flight butterfly die. And now we get to put it all together. Adhere your embossed paper ribbons to your wings. Adhere all mats to their corresponding area. Take your flap or front cover piece and adhere the tab to the front foundation piece. And now to adhere both foundation pieces together, you could use a liquid glue if you'd like, but I prefer to use my ATG gun. Make sure to line your folds up. And oh my goodness, we're just about ready to fly away, huh? This card will stand on its own. And this is our completed project. You so bless me. A little thank you for you because you have blessed me so. You are irreplaceable. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed beyond measure.